Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. You read? That's cool. I text. I'm so sorry. Today we're traveling back to a little year called 2004. A year where battles were fought entirely in a away message. The girls were dousing themselves in Bath and Body Works before leaving the house, and the tide hadn't fully turned on the whole Iraq war thing. If you're a younger millennial or elder Gen Z, chances are you remember these books. You probably saw them at your local library, maybe at Borders, maybe at Books A Million. ttyl, ttfn, later g8r, all by Lauren Myracle. These are the first books to be written entirely in IM, okay? These are generation-defining epistolary novels. These books were published in 2004, 2006, and 2007, and wow, does it show. There is another book, YOLO, but it was published in 2014, and it was written entirely in iMessage. So I will not be including it on principle. Also, 2014 internet was totally different from 2004 internet. If you were there, you know. Look at these. Okay, look at it. The bold cover, like it's cute. Oh my gosh. There's emoticons, as the ancients called them. Is your eye not caught? Tell me, if you saw this on the shelf, your eye captured. I usually read ebooks, but I had to get the real thing here, and let me show you why. Look at this. Look at this. Gaze upon it. Look at this formatting. Oh my gosh, they're IMing on Mac OS 9, okay? That is the OS that they were using the day the towers fell. These are relics of my people, okay? And we are going to love them the way that they deserve. These covers are deceptive, kind of. These are definitely books for teens, not tweens. Certainly not grown adults with children. These books were banned in many school districts across the country, by which I mean they were often moved out of middle school libraries and into high school libraries, and totally removed from some high school libraries, don't get me wrong. And I say that just because, like, when people talk about book bans, it's not like George W. Bush was personally breaking into your house to shoot you, okay? He wasn't going to gun you down the street if you read them. It's just like they were moved because they're not, like, the most appropriate for a tween. You may be wondering why. It's so cute, Xtina. Why? Well, there's sex, okay? There's cursing. Nobody's having like cyber sex on the pages or anything, but the teens are horny. It's nothing that they wouldn't say to each other like over IM or IRL. But it's honestly crazy that these books dominated the top 10 most challenged books list. Because, and like, I want to be clear here, like, these were not the most risque things published in their time, okay? They definitely weren't, the worst. And they also, like, weren't the most visible either. They were New York Times bestsellers, don't get me wrong, but, like, they weren't the books that every girl was reading. Harry Potter books were still coming out. Twilight was coming out. I feel like I remember girls reading, like, Meg Cabot and Sarah Dessen more than I remember people reading these books, but they're also really quick reads. So it's like, I mean, you can read this in an afternoon. So maybe that has something to do with it. So then it makes you wonder, like, why were these books such targets when there are definitely sexier books on the shelves? And I have to think it's because of how they were written. I mean, you can flip through the first few pages, and there in bright blue Comic Sans is talk of a teacher staring at a girl's boobs and female ejaculation. He's not staring at the female ejaculation, to be clear. Not only that, but the book is written entirely in IM, and the style shows. C has become C, U has become U, enough is inexplicably enough. That's like barely a time saver. Nobody's capitalizing a single letter they don't have to. So can you imagine a parent just looking at the cute little cover, then flipping through, seeing the aim shots, oh, it's so similar to how their kids are talking to their friends, and then losing their mind when they spot the word stiffy? And not only that, I can see how it would be easy for a parent to dismiss these as like brain-rotting, mindless books and want to keep their precious babies away from them. But I don't really think that would be fair. These are not high literature, okay? They're not pretending to be, they don't want to be. But they do deal with some pretty realistic grown-up themes, and they actually handle them the way that kids might. And Lauren Myracle manages to tell a pretty vivid story through dialogue alone. I might be getting ahead of myself. I read these books as a teen, and I liked them. Were they my favorites? No. But, like, there's something really special about them. There are parts of them that have stuck with me nearly 20 years later. And so my hope is that you'll hear me out and maybe feel that way too. Let's get into it. These books follow a group of 3 best friends, Angela, Zoe, and Maddie. I wanted to help you visualize them in the most 2004 way I could think of, so I whipped out the doll maker. Who needs generative AI when you have these bad girls? First up, we have Angela Silver, username Snow Angel. She writes in blue Comic Sans, which is a reflection of her high maintenanceness and general unseriousness. The blue text did necessitate a 2-color print job for this, so you better appreciate it. Angela is fun and bubbly. She is the most animated typer of the bunch. She does a lot of these very aughts actions like stomps feet, breathes deeply with hand to throbbing bosom, struts around to funky big band music. It's this very 2000s style of humor that does not hit for me now, but I think probably would have crushed it if I was 12. Angela's also the boy crazy one of the bunch. She's a hopeless romantic who wants a boyfriend. But of the 3 girls, she's not the one who has the most romantic plot lines. That would be Zoe Barrett, aka Zoe Girl. She writes in black Georgia font to show that she's a smart, serious person. Zoe is responsible and level-headed. She's the voice of reason in the group. She's also very much a good girl, and her parents are lawyers. Every one of these books has some kind of Zoe romance plotline. And the opposite of Zoe is Madigan Maddie Kinnick, aka Mad Maddie. Maddie writes in the Sans Black, which is just a very bold typeface. Maddie is the funny one, I guess. She's kind of rebellious. She's kind of edgy. She's bold. Most of her plot lines are about her doing dumb teenage stuff, okay? She's going off on her own. She's trying the drugs. You know what I mean. Maddie is the most complex character these books have. She sometimes comes off as a little bit mean. You'll see. She's also probably the easiest to genuinely dislike of any of the characters. When I was researching how people felt about these books, when they were coming out, I did see some Maddie hate online, okay? And it didn't really surprise me. Anyways, that's basically all you need to know before we get into these books. So let's dive in. We're going to start with ttyl. Okay, this is the first book in the series. It was published in 2004. My paperback is 209 pages long, and you can crush this bad boy in maybe 2 to 3 hours. Here's the gist. The girls have just started 10th grade. Angela is head over heels for a boy who is lukewarm on her. Maddie becomes friends with the school mean girl, and Zoe is groomed by her English teacher. If you're new here, I'm going to recap this, and I am going to spoil it. Is it even spoilers for a 20-year-old book? I don't know. But if you don't want that, skip ahead now. It's the first day of 10th grade. Maddie's complaining about the posers, preps, and jocks. Angela wants to meet the boy of her dreams, and Zoe wants something big to happen to her. Let's start with Maddie. Maddie is on the verge of turning 16 and getting her license. She will be given her grandma's old gremlin. Assuming her grandmother had the latest model year and this book was published in 2004, that puts this car at about 26 years old. Zoe has Mr. H for English. Rumor has it that he is a huge creep who stares at girls' chests, but Zoe doesn't see it. Zoe and Mr. H have been talking after class. They talk about big things like the meaning of life and Christianity, and she likes that Mr. H treats her like an adult. He also takes her to youth group at 7 a.m. on a school day. She likes that Mr. H chose her. It makes her feel special. Some red flags here. 1, you will catch me nowhere at 7 a.m. 2, she was in the car alone with Mr. H. Any well-meaning male teacher is going to be hyper aware of the optics. And this was probably true in 2004. Now to Angela. She meets a cute boy in her French class named Rob Tyler, and his 2 first names only make him hotter. She plays hard to get with Rob, and it works. He takes her on a date to the now nearly defunct casual dining chain Bennigan's. Then he takes her on another date to a bar like a grown-up. Angela pretty quickly falls for him. She thinks he might be the one, which is not the one she'll marry, but the one she'll have sex with. But then, the next weekend, Rob hangs out with this girl, Tawny Wyndham, and Rob didn't even call Angela to tell her, even though they've been dating an entire week. At school, Tawny flirts with Rob in front of Angela, okay? So she's clearly trying to steal Rob away. And then later, Maddie saw Jana Whitaker at 7-Eleven while she was practicing driving. Jana is the mean girl. She sucks. We hate her. But this time, Jana was actually nice to her. She is so jealous that Maddie will be getting her license in 2 weeks. And this becomes the start of a budding Maddie-Jana friendship, or at least a getting alonging ship. Zoe goes to actual church with Mr. H, on a Sunday and everything. And they have good, deep conversations again. And Zoe feels like they have something special. Angela rightfully pegs this as funny business from Mr. H. But Angela has her own problems. Rob's been talking to Tawny even though she and Rob are celebrating their 2-week anniversary. But Angela doesn't want to break up with him. She wants to mean something to him, and I get it. We all want somebody we like to see what makes us special and treasure us for it. But then Angela catches him taking Tawny on a date to Bennigan's. That was their spot. Rob pretty quickly boards the Tawny train and leaves Angela devastated at the station. One night, Zoe goes to a youth group party for teenagers, and Mr. H is there. After he drives her home, they sit outside her house and just talk. Then he rubs one of the holes on her jeans. Butterflies for Zoe, but panic for Angela. The alarm bells have been raised so many times. Zoe has a crush on Mr. H and wonders if there's a chance. And I mean, yeah, there's a chance. There's a chance he'll lose his job. There's a chance he'll end up on the registry. What do you mean chance? And this is the point where Angela changes her mind and suddenly becomes supportive of Zoe and Mr. H. So boo, Angela. Maddie is 16 now and she can drive. She and Jana have been getting closer, and they do this little stunt where they assemble a crew of drivers to all drive on the highway at the same spot in each lane, all going the speed limit. Everybody's mad. Everybody's honking. It's great. Jana was supposed to be in the car with Maddie, but she wasn't. And even though Maddie's had her license for all of 2 minutes, she drove alone. This was a moment from the book that stuck with me for years. It's such a vivid image, even though we only hear it from dialogue. I remember wishing that I had a group of friends that I could do something like this with, or even just being brave enough to do something like that. And then as an adult, I read it and I'm like, wow, this is a great way to provoke the absolute craziest people. Because that would provoke me, the craziest person. Anybody going slower than me on the highway is personally making my life harder. Anybody going faster than me is a crazy person who wants me dead. I am the only person who should be allowed to drive. Also, while all this stuff is happening, the girls have been planning a road trip. They've been gradually getting permission from their parents to go, and the trip is on. Remember that for later. Are you ready for a hard pivot? Halloween night, Maddie goes to a party at a frat house with Jana and gets very drunk. Eventually, Maddie ends up on a table naked to the waist. She remembers people throwing money at her, but not much else. And when Maddie got home, her family wasn't there, so they don't know that anything happened to her. This is a point where the format of the novel just makes this scene so much more impactful. Since we only get bits and pieces of what happened from Maddie, we're left to assume the worst, and it's colored by how Maddie's feeling. She doesn't blame Jana, but then she says that Jana made her drink more after Maddie made a joke that she didn't like. And so, we know it's Jana's fault. I just felt really sad for her. And after this, she and Jana are on the outs. Jana ditches her for embarrassing herself at the frat party. And Zoe points out, this is not good friend behavior from Jana, but Maddie doesn't want to believe it. Zoe and Angela kind of piece together what happened with Maddie. And when Maddie realizes that Angela and Zoe talked to each other about what happened at the party, she freaks out, and it seems like she's totally backed out of the friendship. And then things get worse. Jana actually took pictures of Maddie dancing topless at the party and emailed them around school. People are teasing her about it and asking her how much she charges for a dance. It's totally awful. And Maddie's shame is so powerful that she still won't talk to Zoe and Angela. And then Mr. H invites Zoe to come with him to a house that he's house sitting at soon. He suggests that they could hang out in the hot tub and stargaze. Barf. But she doesn't change her mind about Mr. H until later when he mentions it to her again at youth group, where other people could have overheard him. And he suggested that she could wear her bikini. Ugh, it's icky, man. And it was one thing when her and Mr. H's connection was under the table or maybe just in her mind, but something about other people possibly witnessing it made her realize just how weird it all was. But now Zoe doesn't really know what to do. But you know who does? Maddie. So Maddie's basically just had a little away message up this entire time, and they haven't been able to get through to her. But Angela leaves her a message about Mr. H's hot tub plans, and Maddie springs into action. Zoe does go to the house with Mr. H, mostly because she doesn't really know how to back out. But Maddie and Angela crash it, and they stop him from doing anything creepy. And then they apologize to each other and make up, and they go on their little road trip. All's good. And that's TTYL. Okay, so let's start with Zoe. Zoe seems to be more sheltered than the other girls, so it makes sense that she might not immediately flag Mr. H's attention as weird. But she also pretty quickly dismisses any input that Mr. H is a creep. I wondered if this was going to be indicative of a character flaw on her part, maybe she thinks her friends are overly dramatic, or that they're not as smart as her, and so she doesn't take them seriously. but that's like not really what happens. I know what you were thinking. Aren't Zoe's parents lawyers? Why did she not tell them? I, I get it and I agree. She says that she does consider it, but she doesn't want to get Mr. H fired. Like, I get it. A teen might not want to invite that kind of negative attention, but I'm an adult and Mr. H is a predator. Let's send him to jail. I also think this book just like didn't want to be that kind of book. Like, I think that if Zoe had told her parents and it became like a whole thing, then it wouldn't have made sense for this book to be about anything other than like that thing anymore, right? Because that would just take up so much of her like time and how people feel about her. So I think this might have just been a choice on Lauren Miracle's part to just be like, okay, we're not touching the implications of all of that. In the end, Zoe decides that she still wants to be a Christian, and Mr. H's Christianity is never presented as part of his creepiness. So, remember when I talked about the optics? I kind of wondered if maybe the author chose to make Mr. H a Christian to give him an opportunity to be around her in a way that kind of sidestepped the optics instead of being a statement on Christianity. And then we have Maddie. So, Maddie's plotline is easily the heaviest. Today, we would call this revenge porn. This is another one where I'm surprised that there was no adult involved. It's like this book takes place entirely in teen world. Like, I get why she wouldn't tell her parents, but then also, like, people are teasing her for this in school and the adults don't get involved. I want to believe a teacher would say something today. I didn't remember this plotline at all, so reading it now as an adult, like, I was really surprised that this book went there. I've mentioned the cover a lot, but like, you really would not expect it looking at this cover. Okay, so I think it would be pretty easy to look at this book and just dismiss it as frivolous teen slop. I was impressed by how far it went, and I was impressed by how coherent the story was despite the format. I thought it was pretty enjoyable. On to book 2. ttfn. This stands for Ta-Ta for now, if you didn't know. My husband didn't know, so you might not. My book says it was published in '06. It's 229 pages. Now the girls are in 11th grade. Here's the gist. Angela's moving to California. Maddie has a thing with a boy and gets into weed. And Zoe has a new boyfriend who's her age. Same thing. If you don't want spoilers, bye. It's November of junior year. 17-year-old Maddie goes to a wedding where she drinks and makes out with a guy named Clive who goes to another school. But she calls him Chive. Isn't that funny? So Zoe's gotten a job in an evening daycare business, which is a concept that to my knowledge doesn't exist, but wow, I wish it did. She hits it off with one of her coworkers, Doug, and develops feelings for him. He had a crush on Angela throughout TTYL, and even though Angela never reciprocated, she does feel some kind of way about Doug moving on. So Angela thinks something's up with her parents, but she doesn't know what. Zoe actually had an awkward encounter where she saw Angela's dad in a coffee shop with a woman in like professional getup. Is he cheating? No. He lost his job, and that woman was a career coach. He got a job offer, but it's in El Cerrito, California. Angela's miserable. Her only hope is this little silver bracelet that she bought that says believe. Her dad takes her and the fam to see El Cerrito over Thanksgiving break. He's like, we'll check it out before we decide. But then when they get there, he says that he's already accepted the job and they will be moving in December. And on this trip, Angela meets her dad's boss's daughter, Glendy. She hates Glendy immediately. Like, Glendy's a bit of a dork, okay? She's still into Care Bears and she wears high-waisted jeans like a sensible person. So Maddie's been hanging out with Chive, and at this point we kind of assume that Maddie and Chive are becoming boyfriend-girlfriend. But when they hang out with some of Chive's friends, Chive makes out with this girl, Whitney, and Maddie makes out with this guy, Brannon, who she's not even interested in. And Zoe's taken aback by this because she doesn't want Maddie to get hurt. But Maddie insists that she's cool, it's casual. And then she smokes weed for the first time with Chive and Brannon. This is the start of Maddie's weed arc, and I need you to look at this, okay? I'm quoting here. Pot, weed, ganja, doobage, gank. Here, I'll add some. Plant, bud, devil's lettuce, jazz cabbage, sin spinach, wizard's kale. You're welcome. You can use any of those you'd like. Another quote, who's gonna go on a pot run? I know that slang in drug language especially like changes all the time. So it's possible that this didn't sound so goofy in 2006, but today it's very much giving like anti-drug PSA. Hey guys, I'm gonna go to the pot store. Does anybody need anything? Maybe some pot? Well, I was gonna say no, we're good, but yeah, maybe some doobage? Could we get some gank, please? Could you pick up some extra gank if you find any? So weed pretty quickly becomes Maddie's whole personality. Like, Chive gives her a nickel bag for Christmas, and I know what you're thinking. He gave her a middle schooler's amount of weed. Does that mean they're dating? No. Whitney, the girl that he made out with before, is his girlfriend now. But that doesn't stop him from getting high with Maddie and fooling around. And Maddie, like, copes by being like, oh, we have this, like, deep connection and we don't care about the rules. But her friends, like, pretty rightfully think she deserves better. As Angela's move closes in, not even the power of the Believe bracelet can cheer her up. The girls have one last hang, and then Angela moves to California. So these books take place in Atlanta, Georgia, and her move to California means that she's going to be 3 hours behind her friends. And the Believe bracelet breaks in the airport. Now she's as broken as it is. And unfortunately for Angela, like, things move on. Zoe and Doug go on a date for real, exclusively with one another. And Doug is an acolyte at some church, so he took her to the church basement for some alone time. And there they made out under the eyes of God. And she has this conversation with Maddie where there's some friction because Zoe takes her thing with Doug very seriously, and Maddie is fine being a side piece. So California sucks and Angela hates it. She decides to call up Doug and flirt with him. Now, obviously, he's not interested, but now he knows that Zoe hasn't told Angela about them. And now Angela is mad at Zoe, which is silly because she didn't even care about Doug until he moved on. Angela also just hates her new school. She hates the metal detectors. She hates that loser Glendy has just glommed onto her. But she and Zoe apologize and make up. Maddie and Zoe continue to be foils of each other. So Zoe is taking things relatively slow with Doug, and he's like posting poetry about her online for the world to see. Maddie, meanwhile, kind of a mess. She's idolizing Chive, of all people. She's getting high on weeknights, and she's also resentful of Zoe, and because of that, they fight. Maddie accuses Zoe of being boring and playing it safe instead of living. And then she crosses a line by judging Zoe for not being able to relax while she and Doug fool around. There's been kind of this theme, like, on and off where, like, Zoe's not really comfortable with her body, and she's not really able to, like, relax and just physically enjoy the moment with Doug, okay? So definitely a line cross to even bring that up. Zoe's mad, and she points out that this is nonsense because Maddie accidentally let it slip all high that she wants to be Chive's girlfriend. And so she's like, Maddie, you're lying to yourself. Of the 3 books, there's probably the most fighting in this book, and it brought me back to some of the really dumb fights that I had with my friends over AIM. If you too had stupid fights in AIM over nothing, let me know down in the comments. What was it about? I would love to hear about it. Later, Maddie tells Angela that she doesn't even really like getting high, because even though it can be fun, she'll have these like moments of clarity where she realizes just how pathetic her thing with Chive is. So Maddie and Zoe don't really make up, so to speak, but they do move on. And Maddie accuses her of being a coward and dares her to tell somebody to, quote, shut the hell up, thinking, yeah, Zoe would never do that. But Zoe does it. Zoe really likes Doug, and she likes that she's allowed to like him, unlike with Mr. H. Apparently, Mr. H has a special student every year, and last year it was Zoe. And hearing that makes Zoe really sad, and she doesn't really dig too deep into it because it happens during a Maddie-Zoe conversation, and let's be real, Maddie's not equipped to have that conversation. But I'm going to extrapolate. She's sad because she wasn't a girl who was so special and smart and interesting that the teacher had to break the rules for her. She was simply the girl unfortunate enough to be groomed, and she feels like a sucker for falling for it. And then Maddie dares Zoe some more. Like, Zoe plasters Mr. H's car with bumper stickers during church. She's dared to walk through the malls with marshmallows kind of like glued to her nips, and everybody sees her. And at first, it's like very embarrassing. Like, even Angela hears about it. But then she feels liberated. And so Zoe dares Maddie to tell Chive how she feels. Things just keep getting worse for Angela. She's mean to Glendy, so Glendy ditches her, and now she has no friends. And then Angela decides she's going to run away from California and go back to Georgia. But she doesn't tell Maddie and Zoe, so they don't even know like where she's gone until she's like one day's bus ride away from Atlanta. Her parents also don't even notice that she leaves at first, which is like, that's so sad. Eventually, she gets to Georgia. Her parents decide to let her stay with her aunt through the semester, but she is grounded. All of Maddie's dares have been giving Zoe this newfound confidence that leads her to invite Doug over for a hot date while her parents are out. They don't go all the way. The only busting of the night is done by Zoe's parents, who come home early. Zoe's grounded. Maddie and Brandon went to go buy weed, and Brandon got caught and taken to jail. Maddie didn't because cute little white girls don't get in trouble for things like that. When she and Chive went to bail Brandon out, she told Chive how she feels about him. And Chive responds with, "Ah!" and "Why?" Which is exactly how you don't want something like that to go. Like, oh my God, if that happened to me, like, I would get out of the car and walk straight into traffic. He says he's not going to leave Whitney, but nothing has to change between them. And that's what makes Maddie realize what a wiener he is. And then the cop who arrested Brandon sees them and recognizes them and makes them call their parents. So Maddie's grounded now, too. And because she's grounded, she can't pick up the very special package that she ordered. And so she has Angela go get it. It is 3 matching Believe bracelets. Maddie had them specially made. They love them. They will wear them forever. The end. This was cute. It was a pretty good follow-up to ttyl. It's certainly less heavy. Of the 3 books, this one leans the most into like the aughts of it all. The girls are listening to Snow Patrol. They're watching the OC. One side character has a Zanga. Chive doesn't have a live journal. He has a dead journal, and reading that made me roll my eyes straight out of my head. Maddie gets really into Google whacking, which I guess is when you try to Google 2 words, no quotes, and try to get exactly one result. I don't know. People had more time then. Speaking of Maddie, drugs. So Maddie's drug plotline is a little bit dairy. Like, I don't believe that Maddie and her friends are buying drugs from a sketchy dude off the street. They're in high school, right? Do they not have like a friend of a friend's, like, lose her older brother to sell them mids? I liked that Maddie quit on her own because she realized that she didn't like how she made it feel. I liked that she realized that she was being very cringe. I wish more teenagers realized they were very cringe. And I thought it was really interesting that big, bold Maddie, like, only did all this stuff to impress a loser boy. I think it points to this certain hollowness that Maddie's bravado has that we'll talk about later. So it is a little bit heartbreaking to see Maddie change herself to impress a guy who can't even decide if he likes her, but he's happy to fool around with her. She is embarrassing herself for a guy with a dead journal. Like, this is gonna haunt her years from now. And this contrasts well with Zoe's relationship with Doug. He is happy to be with her and he's shouting it from the rooftops. And I liked that the book never judges Zoe for not being immediately comfortable with getting physical with Doug. I don't feel like I've seen a ton of hesitancy in the YA books that I've read, which is kind of weird because, like, it is weird to kiss somebody for the first time. Physicality is just so awkward in your, like, gangly, acne-ridden teen body. I think we need more hesitancy. I generally don't really care for the Angela plot lines, but this is probably my favorite of her plot lines. It just shows us this different side to her. Like, it's not just the misery, but we get a glimpse of an Angela that's like kind of mean, kind of unfriendly, not very bubbly. I think my only gripes with her plot is like the facts feel wrong, but the vibes feel right. Realistically, I think her parents probably would notice if she ran away, or at least, like, I hope they would. But I feel like the feeling that she has that they wouldn't, that feels pretty real too. Like I said, this one has the most conflict. It's probably the most conflict heavy of the trilogy, but it was good to see the girls back together in the end. Next book. Gotta adjust the pook. I can see why these went out of style. They're kind of itchy. l8r, 2007, senior year. Paperback copy is 274 pages. The girls are navigating college acceptances and their last year together. Zoe and Doug's relationship is deepening. And Jana's back with a vengeance. Let's go. So, Jana talks to Terry, one of Jana's friends, after Jana yelled at her and made her cry. And that's how Zoe learned that Jana has this crusty, spit-scented teddy bear that she takes with her everywhere. His name is Boo Boo Bear. He exists in defiance of God, and he is Jana's greatest secret. And so then Jana shows up and she's like, Terry, we're going. But Zoe makes a joke about Boo Boo Bear. And Jana is livid. Also, Doug has just returned from a semester at sea, even though it is a February of senior year, which is just like, that's the American education system, I guess. Just get on a boat and leave. It'll be fine. You can still graduate. Zoe is so in love with Doug that it's crazy, but she gets on birth control so that she and Doug can go all the way. But there's a rumor that Angela was throwing herself at Doug right in front of Zoe at lunch. You know she wasn't. Angela is not that girl. But Angela wonders, Does Zoe think that? Maybe she told somebody who told someone and just like totally misconstrued whatever happened. So Angela confronts Zoe about it. And Zoe says she didn't tell anybody that because she's not that girl either. But you know who is that girl? Jana Whitaker. The girls vow to get revenge. Zoe and Doug double date with Angela, who has a boyfriend named Logan. And even though Angela is the boy crazy one, she's actually pretty lukewarm on Logan, even though he's cute and he's really into her. She's thinking of breaking up with him. So Logan's dad has a car dealership, so he has money. And for Valentine's Day, he gets Angela a Jeep. And my first thought was like, even a vigorously loved crappy Jeep in 2007 is going to be in the thousands. Like, that is an absurd gift for a high schooler to give another high schooler. But it's not a Jeep. It's a Suzuki Samurai, and it cost him $1,200, which is, again, insane. She got him a Barnes & Noble gift card, if you were wondering. So Angela can be bought, and now she doesn't want to break up with him. She got him a unicycle and a coupon for a snuggle. He got her earrings he got from Somalia, which he visited during his semester at sea. Somalia. Maybe you didn't know this, but Somalia was being invaded and airstriked in 0607. Do you think Doug just sort of like saw like the devastation and was just like, just sidestep this? Oh, hello, earring saleswoman. I am interested in your wares. I guess everybody just acted real cool when the teen cruise ship showed up. Maybe the pirates didn't know how to sail a cruise ship, so they just left it alone, okay? Like, I don't know. Who knows? Glad Doug got some sick earrings out of the deal. Maddie writes a school announcement that says, "Congratulations to Jana Whitaker, winner of our first annual Liars Club Award. Jana, your free copy of Lies and the Lying Liars Who Tell Them can be picked up at the office." Jana's mad. Now she's plotting revenge. Revenge. So Jana posted a personal ad of Maddie on Craigslist with her family's phone number on it to urge men to call her and solicit her for sex. And she included the topless photo of Maddie, the one taken at the frat party in ttyl when she was 16. And Maddie's family goes to the police, but they're just like, oh, there's not a whole lot we can do. And that is wild. Like, it is revenge CP. Like, I guess Jana just posted under like 7 layers of VPN or something. I don't know, but you would hope the cops could at least give her like a stern talking to. Maddie doesn't go to the principal because she doesn't want any more people to see it than already have. But this calls for revenge. Revenge. Which is just what Angela does when she breaks into Jana's house. This is such a different book than the other books. It's just way further off the rails. Angela mostly just moves things around and like swishes her toothbrush in the toilet. But Jana immediately knows it was Angela, and she is out for, you guessed it, revenge. Four Ruz there. Maddie mentions all of this to her friend Vincent, who's also friends with Jana, and he tells her that Jana thinks that her stepmom is having an affair, and maybe that's why she's been a little bit touchy lately. There's also been some tension simmering between Maddie, Angela, and Zoe. Zoe's been spending a lot of time with Doug, and the girls think she's kind of losing herself in him. But it's like a cruise ship dropped him off in Somalia and he survived, Angela. That would get any girl wet. So this is a part where like the dialogue-only nature of the book kind of makes it hard to see what the truth really is at this point. Because it's possible that Zoe's world does revolve around Doug now. But it's also possible that Angela's jealous that Zoe has a big girl relationship when she has a boyfriend who's really more like a friend who buys her things. And like, yeah, like that's Angela's choice, but teens aren't known for being logical. Also, college is on the girls' minds. Maddie has her heart set on UC Santa Cruz, Angela really wants to go to Georgia, and Zoe wants to go to Kenyon College. Zoe's parents want her to go to Princeton, but they don't know that she's sabotaged her application by writing about how there should be like a National Pigtails Day or something. If you were wondering, hey, we haven't heard a lot about Jana's revenge plot, well, here it is. It's a dead bird. She puts a dead bird in Angela's car. Jana is insane and should be in jail. As re to the fifth venge, Angela orders baby chicks to Jana's house. But Jana's a psychopath and she's just going to feed them to dogs. So Angela's like, oh, I gotta go. And she intercepts them. The chicks live in Angela's aunt's house for a while until Maddie's brother comes and takes them. Right before spring break, the girls go to a party. Angela doesn't really talk to Logan, even though he's there. She doesn't feel like she can break up with him because he, like, you know, bought her a car. She's kind of hoping that he'll break up with her. But instead, he pulls her aside and tells her that he loves her, but she can't say it back. But she can make a fake letter from the health service saying Jana has gonorrhea from being a slut, print it out, and leave it all over the girl's bathroom. I'm not sure if this is re to the 5th venge or re 6th venge. I don't know. Will Jana take it lying down? We'll see. Angela and Logan break up and she gives back the Jeep, so now she's carless, single, and doesn't have a date to prom. But Jana slept with Logan before they broke up, all part of the revenge plot, and they're dating now, so I guess she did take it lying down. Meanwhile, Zoe and Doug are getting physical. Zoe gives Doug a beach for the first time. They rent a hotel room to have sex, but that ends up not happening. She thinks that she might die without him, and then she literally plays dead on top of him, which is super weird, obviously. And this is the thing that makes her realize, she needs to find herself again. With prom coming up, they decide they want to have sex for real, and they do it where they fooled around for the first time. The church basement. Making love in God's house. Disrespecting God's stuff. Got a bust in God's house. God is watching me nut. She has a realistic first time. It's awkward at first and she doesn't finish, but she's glad that she could have a safe, intimate time with a guy that she truly loves. Also, Zoe got into Princeton and Kenyon. And Zoe's torn because Princeton is obviously one of the best schools, but her heart is set on Kenyon. She follows her heart and chooses Kenyon. Then it's time for prom. Zoe and Doug go together, obviously. In ttyl, Maddie had this casual coworker boyfriend named Ian. They've started dating again, so he's her prom date. Angela goes with her friend Andre, who is gay, and she gets super drunk and throws up on Logan, which he totally deserves. Doug and Zoe have this conversation at prom where he points out that she's too dependent on him. And also Angela tells Zoe that she's too passive, and all of this gives Zoe an idea. She breaks into Jana's car to steal Boo Boo Bear. How many crimes are these girls going to commit? But before she can take the bear and walk off, Jana takes the car without realizing that Zoe's in the back. Her car's just full of crap. They go to this bookstore parking lot where Jana catches her stepmom cheating with this guy who works at the liquor store. And Zoe tries to get out of the car and sneak away, but Jana sees her. And then Zoe explains oh, this was part of the whole revenge stuff, and she kind of walks her through all the revenge things. And then she gets to the bird and Jana's the bird? And Zoe's yeah, the dead bird you very psychotically put in my friend's car. And she's I had nothing to do with the dead bird. And it turns out that was just Angela accidentally left the window down and the bird flew in and died. I genuinely thought that was funny. Anyways, the girls won. I mean, you're not gonna beat Zoe watching Jana's dad get cucked. The girls graduate and promise to stay friends forever. The end. So this book is honestly a pretty crazy finale to the trilogy. There's a lot of hijinks. There's a lot of crime. It's cool to see the girls doing more together, especially since they were split up for so much of TTFN. I keep thinking of the Jana revenge plot as this lighthearted thing, but it's really not. We see an outright unhinged version of Angela when she breaks into Jana's house. What an escalation that was. And then Jana putting up a sex ad for Maddie using the photo from ttyl was clearly way too far. I mean, Jana brought a nuke to the knife fight. She will be in prison one day. Another thing I liked about this book, I felt like it captured a really good spread of the teen relationship experience. Maybe you're going to be like Angela and you're going to have a boyfriend who you're kind of lukewarm on. You're not as into him as he's into you. Or then you have Zoe, taking things to the next level with her boyfriend. I liked that she worked up to sex. I liked that her first time wasn't this wild, amazing, perfect thing. It was awkward and it was sweet. And it was definitely a much more realistic image of a first time than I feel like I've seen in a lot of other books. Another thing, it's not really plot relevant, but it's this recurring thing in this book that Maddie is really into this Flash cartoon called Big Bunny, and she's trying to get Zoe to watch it, and Zoe kind of watches it episode by episode and tells us about it. I watched the first episode. I didn't really love it. I didn't think it was super funny. It wasn't really for me. The woman who made it, Amy Winfrey, she ended up going on to direct BoJack Horseman and create Tuca and Birdie, so it's that's pretty cool. Good for her. But I mentioned it because the way that it's dropped in there and worked in throughout really feels like an ad. Literally, look at this, okay? Is Maddie talking to Zoe or is she talking to you? Personal opinion, I think Maddie would be more of a Newgrounds girl. I think she'd be really into albino black sheep. I think she would have loved Weeble's stuff. Anyway, this wasn't my favorite of the three of them, but it was a cute send off to the series. So you might be wondering, do these books hold up? Look, I'm going to be real with you. These characters graduated in 2007. This book can legally drink. If you pick these up, you're going to see stuff that would get edited out today, okay? You're going to see content that is of its time. You're going to see stuff that is reflective of how teens talked back then. At the end of the day, whether or not they hold up is kind of a mixed bag. The tech, the texting, the references, those are all relics of their time. They actually re-released these in 2014 where they updated the references. So if you pick up the cover that looks different from these covers, you'll see it. I'll put it on the screen. If you pick up that version or the ebook, like you're going to see references that are like more up to date. And I think they're written in iMessage instead. Even though they're written in iMessage, like the chat speak is still there, even though it like makes no sense. There is basically no reason to use chat speak, right? Like we all have cell phones with autocorrect. There's other things that are very like '04 to '07. The way that they talk about bodies is probably not something we would see published today. You gotta remember, this was the time period where like Jessica Simpson was considered fat for being like maybe a size 6. Even though again, like it's how girls were talking back then. To be honest, I don't think it's anything super egregious. One girl is called fat, which like, yeah, that's rude. But the girls also are like, oh, you shouldn't wear low-rise jeans if you have an ass. Honestly, they are half right there, but more because nobody should wear low-rise jeans. That was a trend that should have never come back. You bend over and there's your crack. So I don't know, right for the wrong reasons. The thing that really does hold up here though is the friendships and the relationships and the approaches to all of that. There's still plenty of scenes that make me smile. There are still like good close friendships that I would hope girls are still having today. I think there are still things being modeled in the romantic relationships that are still happening today. I think that stuff is still pretty solid. Let's talk about the language. The IMing was pretty hard to pull off, but I think it works. The hardest part about writing a book like this is obviously it's entirely in dialogue, and that means you can't really like show stuff as it happens. Characters have to describe events, and they have to do so in a way that feels authentic and not awkward and not forced. Another thing we have to consider is that it's written in IM during a time where like the internet was a place where you had to like go to. They're IMing from like the computer room. So because of that, we don't get a lot of live reactions. You know, realistically, you would probably be having multiple conversations going on at once. Because of this being printed, there has to be like one conversation at a time just because you can't like fit that part onto the page. I was kind of thinking about what it would be like if this book was written today. I think it would probably be set in a group chat, maybe like a Discord between the three of them. And I think the conversations would do a lot more to capture what's happening live. I could see Zoe live texting her interactions with Mr. H. Maybe even if this was happening today, the parents might be more tech savvy. They might be monitoring what's going on their phones. Maybe Zoe says she's sleeping over at a friend's house and they see her at the weird place and they're like, oh, what's going on? Maybe Zoe's parents would have gotten involved whether she liked it or not. But I don't think that if it was written today, there would be that novelty that comes with the chat speak. Moving on to the characters. So these are not the kind of books where like the main characters are going to go through the ringer and they're going to change a lot and they're going to reflect and they're going to grow. That's just not how these books are, right? They don't want to be those books. This is more in line with other coming of age novels, I think, where like the characters are kind of learning more about who they are and what they want. Angela and Zoe are the most straightforward characters in terms of like how they feel and what they do. And you know what? I will say it. I think that Zoe is Lauren Miracle's favorite. She gets the most plot lines. She gets into Princeton. Even though Mr. H grooms her, like the worst things do not happen to her, right? Like that thing was bad, but Mr. H didn't like molest her. And it's like sad because like grooming is obviously still bad, right? I think if these books have a polarizing lead, it's gonna be Maddie. So Maddie like is constantly teasing her friends, and honestly, like there are points where I get the feeling that her friends genuinely want her to stop. I don't even know how much she's trying to be mean. She's trying to read the room, but she's not quite literate yet. And like in ttfn, like she keeps accusing Zoe of being chicken shit, and like for what? Like why does it matter if Zoe wouldn't tell somebody to, quote, shut the hell up? My assessment of Maddie is that she is a girl who is desperate to belong, but like doesn't know what to do when she gets there, right? We get little breadcrumbs of her life throughout these novels that make me think like maybe her home life isn't so great, right? She mentions her parents drinking and fighting. It doesn't seem to be a constant, but it's there. Her older brother still lives with them, even though he's 22. His girlfriend lives with them. She's the only person who does the dishes. Also, Maddie's parents let her drink, which, like, definitely a family by family basis. She is a teenager. That's probably not super weird in Europe, but it's not super common in the US. When we start ttyl, Maddie and her friends know that Jana's a bitch, right? But Jana only has to be nice to her temporarily for Maddie to get all buddy-buddy with her. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about YOLO, but like in YOLO, Maddie's plotline is that she really struggles to make friends in college. I don't know. I think there's a lot of depth to Maddie, and I just don't think Angela and Zoe have as much. In my heart of hearts, I'm like, I know I'm Maddie. I didn't mean to turn this into a Maddie defense video. So now that we've looked at these books together, do you think they deserve to be banned? I don't. I know that I've read worse in young adult novels. And then in a 2013 Reddit AMA, Lauren Myracle had this to say about being banned. Lots of my books have teen girls in them. Teen girls sometimes talk about sex. Teen girls sometimes have sex. Lots of grown-ups would like to believe that this is not true. I am not one of those grown-ups, and I think it's important and meaningful to give readers stories that reflect reality in a respectful way. Like, not salaciously, but with the intent of saying, let's look at how this story played out. How'd it seem to work out for so and so? And I agree with her. I've noticed that YA books seem to go like one of two ways. Some authors kind of write YA novels as if they should like educate teens on how to handle tricky situations. And when you do that wrong, it comes off like this like after school special. And other authors write to kind of reflect how teens might actually handle a situation for better or worse. And when you do that wrong, the authors get accused of like glamorizing bad behavior. Lauren Myracle did a really good job like threading that needle. We see the girls get hurt and mess up, but we see them recover, even if it's not the way that like an adult like me would want them to do it. Okay, so now just for fun, where do you think the girls would be today? Angela, I think, is a very successful wedding planner. I think she marries this kind of dorky but very smart guy, like maybe he works in tech, and I think they have a few cute kids. I think Zoe becomes a journalist. I think she eventually processes her feelings about being groomed and she channels that into writing exposés on sexual predators. I think she eventually is going to write like a memoir or perhaps I'm going to butcher this French, roman à clef about her experience, and she's going to win all sorts of awards. Maddie is going to take longer to find herself. She talks about wanting to like be the person who designs like CD covers. So I think she's going to start out as a graphic designer, and then I think she's going to realize that she hates having her creative vision stifled by clients. She's going to, in her spare time, maybe like really fall in love with stand-up comedy. I don't think she's going to be like especially good at it, but I think it's going to lead to her starting perhaps a moderately successful podcast. Anyway, do you remember these books? Did you read them? Let me know what you thought down in the comments. Also, were there any books that you read as a teen that permanently damaged your psyche? Tell me about those too. Maybe we can take a look at those. Don't forget to like the video if you liked the video, subscribe if you want to see more videos, and I will talk to you later. Okay, can we talk about the look really quick? I wanted to give off the look of like, I am the girl who bullied you in middle school and high school. Okay, I have been preserved in a time capsule. I never changed. And here I am back from the aughts to tell you about these books. I'm not going to bully you. I will not. I promise. We are going to heal your middle school self.
Goodbye.